How's it going? Gon here. Oh, this is not what it looks like. I just like keeping my favorite stuff in the box, just in case something bad happens, you know. Hey, it's Ubisoft again. Here's Far Cry Origins Obama's Requiem. Please clap and give us money. Please, we're going bankrupt. Splendid. What does it have, Mr. Soft? This is a commercial, bitch, but to answer your question, we have Obama. Does Pong have Obama? Believe me, this one is gonna be huge. This one is gonna be Remember when video game commercials were creative and interesting and actually incentivized people to buy the damn game? Well, some still do, but it's just not the same. I already went through the history of video game commercials from the Magnavox Odyssey generation to the Super Nintendo and Genesis generation, and today we are closing the quadrilogy with all the other generations. But before we take a step to the 3D era of game commercials, let's go back to the beginning one more time. Yup, it's rewind time, but let's make it quick to catch up where we last left off. This era makes up commercials from the 70s and early 80s before Nintendo entered the ring with the NES. And it included consoles such as the Magnavox Odyssey, Atari 2600, ColecoVision, Intellivision, and the Vectrex. The Odyssey was the first commercialized game console, and its commercial definitely shows that. The Magnavox Odyssey commercial focused more on explaining what the system had to offer and how it worked, instead of making something quirky and memorable. It's lame, but this was being advertised to people who couldn't hold a joystick correctly, aka 70s old heads, and that's exactly what the Atari 2600 is nowadays. During the second generation, they got really creative with the commercials. Maybe a little too creative to my taste.
I'm Steve.
What I mean by that is that we went from
the Magnavox Odyssey is the fun playing machine with simple to use controls for all the family. You can play football, pong, baseball, gamble, wank your
to introducing Burger Time from Atari.
How the fuck?
Creativity was key to advertise 2600 games. Just take the example from this commercial for Atari Breakout. The simple game with nothing but bars and a circle is advertised as an actual prison break, which doesn't make any sense, but the intention was there. Gaming was a new and exciting thing. You don't want to show these dog shit graphics, so might as well lie. Hey, at least we got our first adaptation of Mario and Luigi in live action with these Atari ads, 6 years before the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. And with that, we go into... The moment Nintendo came to North America, it was over. It was literally over. Console gaming was ceasing to exist. But Nintendo came with a Nintendo Advanced Video System, Nintendo Entertainment System, and they did alright. Since consumers were avoiding consoles like the plague, the Big N advertised the NES as a toy or an entertainment system, and that's why in the first years of the console, we got more informative commercials like the Magnavox Odyssey. But with an extra Nintendo spice, and when I say that, I mean late night house rockets. Dang it, I'm just trying to slip here. I was more of a Sega guy anyways. Wait, this is the perfect transition to talk about— Not yet. But later on, after Nintendo sold millions of units and console gaming received some acceptance, the commercials evolved, and Nintendo finally developed a style.
We are Nintendo Ultimate TV Game System.
Go back! To be fair, this one is from Australia, but we got some weird ones in America. I personally like this one for the Super Mario Bros. Trilogy and Zelda 2. I don't know, you just don't see commercials like this anymore. They quite literally were products of their time. Now we can talk about Sega. Sega was already competing with Nintendo with their Master System, but in the US it wasn't the biggest success, so when they released the Genesis that had the double of the power of the NES, more colors and more headphone jacks, they did not hold back.
MP3 or columns free. What Nintendo don't.
This was catastrophic. So catastrophic that Nintendo did not give a f***, released the Super Nintendo and dipped. Whoa. They did take some jabs on Sega, but Sega's campaign during this generation was very aggressive, and when you talk about ads during the SNES and Genesis generation, these Sega ads are the first to be talked about. Do you know what comes a second fiddle as the best commercial of this generation? This commercial single-handedly convinced me to not pick up Final Fantasy IV on the Super Famicom, but an ostrich. How cute. In terms of creativity, we got into levels of Atari 2600 ads. This one has a guy eating till his stomach and his body explodes to advertise Yoshi's Island. This one has a bunch of pink ball people advertising Kirby Superstar. Sure, a bit odd, but yeah, whatever. And this one has Sonic growing into... My bad guys, I was just listing funky scenarios from Third Affinity. Sure, we have those, but I always loved this Japanese commercial for Super Mario RPG. It features a stop-motion animation of Piranha Plant singing about the game, and I think it's neat. I still haven't played the game, but this makes me really want to play it. When the Sega CD released, we received one of the most traumatizing commercials I've ever seen. It actually terrified me as a kid.
Wanna see more?
And next, with those weird sounds that played when we inserted the wrong disc on the add-on, I feared the Sega CD and never wanted to do anything with it. That's all for the generations I've previously talked about. Now let's move on to one of the best gens of all time. Are you apart from this generation? The 3DO is an interesting console. Even if it isn't talked about as much as the PS1 or any other console from the 5th generation, it was the one that started it all. CDs and 3D graphics, the 3DO has it all. Even an attitude. The 3DO is so tough, they made a commercial calling the SNES and Genesis toys. This right here is a man's machine, available for the affordable price of $699.99. The fact that only 2 years later the PS1 would be released and costed less than half of the 3DO's price will never not be funny to me. The 3DO's commercials were similar to Sega's, but worse and less unhinged. Like this one showing a kid playing the 3DO and popping his head out. I can't imagine if Sega made this one. There is no way I can talk about this generation without mentioning the Atari Jaguar. The Jaguar is such an incredibly underrated console, and its ads were pretty memorable. Take for example, this one. And remember yet? That's it for the Jaguar. The PS1 reigned supreme not only in console sales, but also in commercials. The first generation of PlayStation gave us iconic commercials that are still talked about almost 3 decades later. Well, there's a reason for that. This right here was the first commercial made for the PS1 in 1994 in Japan. It's kinda bizarre that every element you see on a PlayStation commercial nowadays is present on their first one. The logo with the PlayStation voice clip. Sony was already set for life in the commercial department. It's genius. Now in North America, we got the opposite. This 1995 ad featuring SAP spokesperson Guy is weird cause this doesn't feel like a PlayStation commercial at all. I think Sony was trying to imitate Sega on their first year, but I don't know man, it doesn't have enough sexual jokes in it. Now this is a PlayStation commercial. By far this is the most popular PS1 ad, and for the simple reason that it traumatized the generation. The video shows an alien looking girl speaking nonsense and it ends with the PS logo. You really couldn't tell it was a PlayStation ad until the last 3 seconds. I first watched this ad on those top 10 scariest commercial compilations here on YouTube, and it never bothered me. It was actually one of the first videos I uploaded on YouTube. The Portuguese version that is. More than a decade after I watched it for the first time, I find a picture of the commercial pre-post production, and man, why does the original look more uncanny? Remember when I said that Sony tried to replicate Sega style in their commercials? Well, they did it again, but this time for the first Crash Bandicoot. It shows a guy in a Crash mascot suit insulting Mario in front of the Nintendo of America headquarters. Sony really wanted to be a part of this whole rivalry between Mario and Sonic with Crash. 2 decades later, and it backfired. The last PS1 commercial I have before we move on is for Parappa the Rapper.
Little toilet, I already sold it, ribbit, in the rain or in the snow, I got the funky flow.
What?
But now
Sega during the 5th generation was not only on crack, but being left behind by a majority of people that had a Genesis. Sega wasn't cool anymore, and these commercials reflect that. Just look at the launch one for the Sega Saturn. It's a 9-minute video full of nothing that leaves the viewer more confused than anything Sega ever put out during last gen. 9 minutes with roughly 2 minutes of the same 5 games and random clips were shipping the Sega Saturn. It's weird, but I feel bad for Sega. They even made a commercial saying that the Sega Saturn is the ultimate machine, that it's gonna leave the Nintendo 64 in the dust. But then the exact opposite happened, and the Sega Saturn was not even close in beating the N64. Sega's campaign during the Saturn's run was like a forced and unfunny version of the one they had during the Genesis. They sacrificed the entire promotion of Nights into Dreams, one of the Saturn's best games, to dog on Sony. And it didn't work. The Sega Saturn is the most underrated console of all time. And that sentence may raise some eyebrows, but if you explore the vast game library of the system, you'll find a ton of amazing games that, otherwise, would never found out about. But Sega of America's decisions during the Saturn's time butchered the console's reputation and would lead to Sega's downfall on the hardware department. To leave on a high note, Sega's commercials in Japan were the best. There's genuinely no competition. Sega even made a mascot for the Saturn, Sega to Sanjiro, portrayed by Mr. Fujioka Hiroshi. This series of commercials show how Sega's Japan and America divisions are polar opposites. In one hand we have crude stuff like this, and on the other hand we have crude stuff like this. Sanjiro is awesome, and Sega would later revive the character and feature him in their games. It goes to show how he became an icon of some sorts. Nintendo's jump to 3D was a rough one. The Nintendo 64 was a powerful console, but the biggest turnoff for developers was the usage of cartridges even after the competition switched to CDs. This was a blow for many people, but still, Nintendo's creativity during this generation was at an all-time high. Take for example, this iconic commercial made for the first Super Smash Bros. Some other commercials during this time, like the one we just watched and the one for Banjo-Kazooie, featured mascot costumes by KCL Productions, and these extended to the GameCube generation. And these costumes would also be used for a promotional event for Smash Bros called Slamfest 99. It was an early attempt to livestream an event in the late 90s, no one archived it, and now it's lost media. It's a whole rabbit hole and getting into that would double the size of this episode, so let's set that aside. For now. Mario Party's commercial just leaves me speechless, cause why the f*** didn't they use the mascot Mario suit? That would have been so cool! This isn't exactly a Nintendo 64 commercial, but got milk? You tell me. In the 90s they made a promotion with Nintendo and blah blah blah, you don't need to know that. You've probably already seen this commercial before. I just need to create a good excuse to talk about OK.
Okay.
Yeah, OK Milk. It's like milk, but Spanish. OK Milk did a similar thing with Mario 64 in Spain. I'm not Spanish, just a fan of their work in the milk industry. Mario saying OK 69 times and holding OK does put a smile on my face. Alright, jokes aside, the guy behind the Mario voice does a phenomenal job, and if Mario speaks Spanish, he would definitely sound like that.
¡Hey, y llama! Puedes ganar una fantástica Nintendo 64 y el Super Mario 64.
The last Nintendo and 5th generation commercial I have is for the Game Boy Color. Dude, I too want an Oklahoma-shaped Game Boy Color. God bless the 6th generation. The early 2000s was the golden age of gaming, a peak that we've fallen ever since. And commercials were definitely something during this time. The PS2 was probably the easiest console to advertise to a general audience. It's a state-of-the-art system that plays the latest video games and doubles as a DVD player. Keep in mind that DVD players back in the early 2000s costed a kidney and some more, and the PS2 was the best alternative out there. Now, what did Sony actually advertise during the console's launch in North America? Simple, they made a commercial for the PlayStation 9. What? I was gonna question how they fumbled this one, but this commercial rocks. The PS2 doesn't even make an appearance during the whole thing, only the logo in the end. This commercial sheds personality, which is exactly what the PS2 had, which makes it even funnier when the ad has nothing to do with it. Will the PS9 include BioLink and Mind Control? I hope so, but I'm ready for the inevitable and the commercial ages like milk. It's Sony we're talking about. The PlayStation 2's marketing during its first year on the market was weird, but then again, it had personality. David Lynch, yes, of all people, directed a fantastic PS2 commercial in the year 2000. I love this commercial so much. It's called Welcome to the Third Space, and we see this guy walking through a corridor, but little does he know that this is actually the David Lynch PS2 corridor, and as expected, things get bizarre. It's weird, it's wacky, it's unexplainable, it's David Lynch, which is funny, cause out of context and without the PS2 logo, you'd have absolutely no idea what this was about. And all other commercials during this time were like that. Just stupid shit like this. Now we're jumping to the games, and I only have 2 notable commercials I'd like to mention from the same franchise. I know I'm making a disservice of the PS2, and I apologize for that, but outside of those first ones, there weren't a lot of memorable game commercials. The first one I'd like to talk about is the Kingdom Hearts 1 commercial. This is not the first time I mention this commercial, but it's so cool. The visuals, simple and clean playing in the background, the tagline, are simply amazing. And it only took 30 seconds to convince me to play half of Kingdom Hearts 1. There's too many games, but someday I'll finish the series. As expected, the second one is for Kingdom Hearts 2. This one in specific is 1 minute long and it only played on GameStop, cause there's no better place to show your commercials than GameStop, am I right? This ad screams hype and I can feel it. Overall, this is a way better commercial from a way better game. The only thing it lacks is Mark Hamill's voice, but who cares, we have gameplay in this one. Splendid. This one's gonna hurt! The Sega Saturn was a major flop for Sega, and the Sega Dreamcast Despite being the most powerful console in the market when it launched and releasing with a new mainline Sonic game after 5 years, it only had a lifespan of 2 years, and then it was sunset for an era in gaming. Because of the Dreamcast's short life, we didn't receive anything crazy like last generation, but we got a series of commercials that marked the console in a good way. Nah, I like this. From 1999 to 2001, the same year the console died, Sega advertised the Dreamcast and its games by showing what happens inside the system while you play your favorite games. The what is inside ad is the most iconic and released at the same time as the Dreamcast, and here we can see, well, everyone. Sure, we don't have Kiryu, but we have Tiny Big Take. Seriously, which size is canon? This commercial goes to show how big of a powerhouse the Dreamcast was. Like the Saturn, this console is very underrated and the titles on this thing were crazy good. This ad may not show games that came out later on the system's life like Shenmue or Jet Set Radio, but it had Sonic the Hedgehog, and after the absence of Sonic on the Saturn, for many people that was enough. For NFL 2K, Sega made the funniest commercial of the Dreamcast. Here we have retired football player Jim McMahon telling football player Randy Moss and Rayman for some reason that NFL was better on the Genesis, but then bam, Moss shows the dude NFL 2K. Holy shit! Putting two football players and Rayman for a commercial about NFL 2K is something so Sega to do. Rayman didn't even have a role, he was just there. It's ironic to end the Dreamcast segment with the launch commercial of the console. I would regret not mentioning this one. We see some lady with the PlayStation symbols on her suit stealing something. What could it be? Of course it's a Dreamcast. I thought it was NFL 2K. It's really well made. The vibe really captures the Dreamcast and this generation as a whole. I love the futuristic aesthetic that the late 90s and early 2000s had, and one console that handled that aesthetic in a weird but lovely way was none other than the... I can't stop loving this damn cube. The Nintendo 64 was a failure. It used an antique format and it sold less than its predecessors, but the GameCube did worse. But it didn't stop Nintendo from making some weird but adorable ads. This commercial for Luigi's Mansion has a ghost girl transform into a GameCube. If my girl could turn into a cube in the bed, it would be freaking sweet. What was the goal here? Launching a Nintendo console without a Mario game is risky enough, but then we have this shit and it leaves everyone asking, why? Just why? Moving on, Mario. Super Mario Sunshine, oh my god, what happened? Music aside, the Mario costume is sick, and it was made by the same people as the Smash 64 one. I think this one didn't do justice for Mario Sunshine, which is something this game never got. This Animal Crossing commercial is live action and it features the villagers interacting with each other and speaking on each other's backs. You know, normal Animal Crossing gameplay. This ad is an obvious parody of Big Brother and other reality shows, and since it was a new IP worldwide, it was a smart way to attract people to buy the game and get to know the world of Animal Crossing. The F-Zero GX commercial tells you exactly how you will look like while you play the game. This commercial looks very different from all the other ones. And we saved the best for last. Pikmin 2 is a phenomenal game that I've never played in my life. But the commercial they made for it, despite being one of the weirdest ads of all time, it's genius. They're just little guys on Pikmin costumes following orders. Just like the game! The GameCube had weird commercials, but overall, I give the thumbs up for this console. Nintendo doesn't make commercials like this anymore. Please bring back Real Tom Nook and X. Wait, X? Green. Microsoft debuted their first console in 2001, the same year the GameCube released. The Xbox was a weird console inside as much as outside. The thing had official NASA sounds from the Apollo missions in the console's menu, while looking like the worst letter in the alphabet. Unfortunately for us, the Xbox didn't have much notable ads compared to the PS2 or the GameCube, but there was one ad that takes the cake as the weirdest commercial of the Xbox. You've probably already seen this commercial through banned ads compilations, and yeah, apparently it was banned in Europe. There is a whole Wikipedia article about this. The ad begins with a woman giving birth to a baby, and then he flies through the window, and while he's flying, or should I say, falling, he rapidly ages from an average child to a geriatric patient, and it finishes off with the old man falling to a casket. Honestly, a very creative commercial, and the tagline, "Life's short, play more," is the cherry on top of the shit. This commercial was made to promote the release of the Xbox in Europe, and after 3 months on air, it was taken off air because Microsoft received 136 complaints, and because of that, it was banned. This was mostly due to shock and the weirdness of the ad, but there were also complaints from people that lost family members and were offended. And that's not all. After the ITC pulled the plug on the commercial, the ad was sued by a French director that argued that her short film had a similar narrative to the ad. In the end, the case never went anywhere, but damn, for a video game commercial, it caused a ruckus, but the ad received a few awards anyway. Well deserved. Barrels are sweet, so why don't you visit the new Neocities BarrelWare website? This is the hub for all things BarrelWare and TheColossalGon with updates on new uploads and other fun stuff. It has everything you've asked for: images, virginity, porn, and a chat box. Keep in mind that the website is still under construction and some tabs aren't available, but it doesn't hurt to visit. So go to barrelware.neocities.org to experience what you've missed all along. It's debatable if the Nintendo DS and the PSP are a part of this generation, but might as well, right? These were released a year prior from the Xbox 360, and both of these consoles have similar aesthetics to their 7th generation counterparts. What more do you want? The first DS commercial is the weirdest launch ad next to the Sega Saturn one. Nintendo made some cryptic ass shit with two blue rectangles, and then there's a weird voice telling us to touch it. What, like this? And you know it's a Nintendo saying till the last 5 seconds. It's weird, no doubt about it. The ad for Kirby Canvas Curse is so bad it's good, cause what do you mean Kirby befriended a disembodied finger? This one taken out of context is hilarious, but honestly, I'm glad we moved on from this. Online gaming was the new big thing with the 6th gen consoles, and implementing that technology on a portable console was mind-blowing. Everyone wanted a DS or a PSP for the online. Well, not only because of that, but you get the point. And this Japanese Mario Kart DS commercial shows that, but with Italian Luigi. That's cursed. The PSP was Sony's first portable console, and I have no idea what happened with their commercials.
PSP. It's like a nut you can play with outside.
What? The PlayStation 3 released in 2006 with mixed opinions overall. The system's price was absurd, the exclusive lineup was weak, it used the Spider-Man font and thought no one would notice. I love this console, but if you weren't a PlayStation fan back then, there was no reason to pick it up. The first few years of the PS3 were rough, but the commercials they pumped up during this era were bizarre and oh so good. The PS3's first batch of ads was questionable. The first one we see a baby doll tweaking while admiring the PS3's power. This commercial scared me, but not for the reason you think. The ad's final shot shows the PS3 levitating and we can see the reflection of the doll. And that said reflection disturbed me, because I thought it looked like an alien. Yeah, sure, an actual alien doesn't scare me, but a stretched reflection of a baby is my breaking point. The other one isn't as memorable and didn't cause much of a reaction compared to the last one. Instead of a doll, we have a Rubik's Cube. The thing starts levitating, solves itself and explodes, coloring the walls with its colors. Some people think it was a jab to Microsoft because the cube shares the same colors as the Windows logo, but I don't know man, that's kind of a stretch. I think the message Sony was trying to communicate with this was that the PS3 is the ultimate playing machine and the other toys don't stand a chance against its speed, graphics and intelligence. That's my take on it. They also made one for the game Lair, but there is no meaning with this one. It looks kinda silly actually. There's a variety of these Play Beyond ads and there's no way I can mention and analyze all of them, but if you would like, you can find all of them on YouTube pretty easily. This one released during the same time and it's so cool. It makes the PS3 feel like the all-in-one console for everything. Games? You can play that. Movies? Sure. It only lacks blast processing. 1 point for Sega, I guess. For the PS3 Slim, Sony made a massive campaign and restructuring of the PS3's image, and with it, we received a new batch of PS3 commercials starring Kevin Butler, portrayed by Jerry Lambert. The campaign was a success. Until Sony sued Lambert due to trademark infringement, cause he made an appearance on a commercial advertising the Wii, and the deal was over. It didn't hurt Sony though. The campaign already ran its course and the PS3 was finally selling. The Long Live Play ad is chaotic and I love it. This is what I love about these commercials. All these characters together not only represents the console's main titles, but a community. It kinda makes me sad that some of these series are dead. We have yet to see this many game series coexist with new entries on the PS5. This is truly something Sony had one chance to make. God of War Ascension received a commercial that aired on Super Bowl 47 in 2013, so you know it had to be something big, something massive, something... I never played God of War Ascension, but this commercial is very well made, and I think this was one of the first times a video game commercial appeared on the Super Bowl, so it's an achievement. Okay, yeah, it wasn't the first one, but it's still something. After the PS3 Slim received a pointless redesign in form of the PS3 Super Slim, we got a new commercial. I hope it's something cool. Oh no! The Xbox 360's first campaign in 2005 asked a simple question. What if we played Call of Duty in real life? And no, it's not what you think. It's a mixture of goofy and cool. It's not something I picture a 360 ad to be about, but I love it. And we go from that to this in only a few years. What happened? Believe it or not, this is for LEGO Batman the video game and family games on the 360 in general. The commercial for Halo 3 is just beautiful. The entire campaign around the release of the game was insane. It had one of the best launches of this generation, and for Halo 3, it's not a surprise. This is a commercial for a multi-platform game, not just the 360, and that's for EA's Mirror's Edge. This is just a cinematic, but this commercial works so well because the graphics are almost the same to the actual game. And come on, it's Mirror's Edge, one of the best games released in the last 20 years, and after games like Red Dead Redemption 2 and Cyberpunk 2077, the graphics still hold up. This was just an excuse to talk about Mirror's Edge. Someday I'll make a full-on analysis retrospective on that game. The Nintendo Wii needs no introduction. It's the 7th most sold console of all time with more than 100 million units sold. The first Wii commercial is nothing special, but the eyes bowing in the end became an icon of the Wii's campaign during its first few years. We Would Like to Play is weird but genius at the same time. Two Japanese businessmen walked to the door of a random house and they asked if they could play the Wii with the households. Nintendo made commercials like this for a while with a variety of different games, but all of them shared the same message. Union. The Wii is synonymous with co-op, and if these commercials don't reflect that, I don't know what does.
I'm teaching my son how to play the new Punch-Out, so every night is boxing night at our house. Keep your guard up. Of course, I used to play the original version back in the day, so...
Punch-Out for Wii, rated everyone 10.
I love this. This is what Punch-Out is all about, not the bullshit you do nowadays, Nintendo. We've officially hit the modern era of video game commercials. Is that a good thing? Not at all. Get ready for more critiques, folks. What better way to start than the first 8th gen home console of all time, the Wii U? Yeah, this is a scary subject on its own, but Wii U commercials, oh man, don't get me started with those. The Wii U was doomed from the start. If calling it Wii U wasn't dumb enough, they advertised the gamepad more than the console itself. For the average consumer, this was just a new special controller for the Wii, which logically hurted the console sales. For the release of the Wii U in 2012, we had fairly normal commercials, something akin to the modern Switch commercials. Something more down to earth with the focus on showing the various functionalities of the Wii U, though I still think they lean more towards the gamepad more than anything else. You know, it's not bad. With a console like the Wii U, you can't do much on advertising it. Or can you?
And buttered popcorn, that's a deal! Yeah, the games we love.
There's a god, right? After the Wii U flopped, in other words, 1 second after the Wii U's release, Nintendo got desperate and did a 180 on the Wii U's campaign. We went from bad to worse. Way worse. From this point forward, Nintendo advertised the Wii U as the worst console in the market. Most commercials from this era consisted of kids trying to explain to the consumer what's a Wii U, which, didn't work. Amiibo was introduced during the Wii U era and released the same day as Smash Bros for Wii U. Nintendo's venture to the Toys to Life craze of the early 2010s. Oh boy, how are they gonna advertise it? This is probably the worst commercial Nintendo ever made, but luckily, not many people saw it, and Amiibo sold more than the Wii U. Yay? I feel so bad for Splatoon. The first game released on the Wii U, and it was amazing, it was something unique for a Nintendo IP. And how did Nintendo advertise it in North America?
This is my squid dance!
Yeah. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your view, Nintendo was like this till the Switch era. Some people like this awkward era, it's definitely better than the bland, evil Nintendo we have nowadays, that's for sure. Nintendo is very confident nowadays. They can drop minimal slop and people eat it up, but during this era, they were cautious. The wrong move would have caused major damage to them.
Come on, Reggie, give us Mother 3!
How about this instead?
I fear we'll never get stuff like this in the future. Putting that aside, how was Nintendo advertising the Wii U in Japan?
ピーチは不安だった。いつもはマリオに助けられるのに。
Oh shit, it's Luigi! Xbox. We had that one with Aaron Paul. That's about it. Like the Wii U, the Xbox One was doomed from the start, but with this one, you already know what you're getting into. It's Xbox, there's not a single gimmick in sight with these consoles. The Xbox One just exists and has better graphics than the previous one. From this moment forward, Xbox commercials, if they exist, are pretty lame, and that's something we'll see with the Series X and S. The PS4 released in 2013 and compared to its competitors, it had some fun ads. The first commercials of the PS4 posed the question, what if GTA Online was real? The Greatness Awaits campaign had the best commercials of this generation. You can feel the passion and creativity that went through the creation of these ads, and makes me appreciate the console and everything that came with it. These ads gave us the feeling that the future is here, and that we'll never get graphics better than this. We've reached an all-time high, something the Xbox One failed.
It's okay, Nick doesn't need the game. On PS4, Nick can join your game.
This is goofy, but it's so f***ing funny. Learn something from this, Nintendo. Actually, the Greatness Awaits ads were something I could have seen Microsoft doing instead of Sony. These commercials feel straight off the Xbox 360 era. Even after this campaign, Sony kept the tradition and made new live-action ads, but this time with actual characters, and that includes non-Sony characters like Cloud Strife and Crash Bandicoot. Marvel Spider-Man is a game that took a while to come out, but when it released, oh boy, it was a whole event. Spider-Man games during this gen were non-existent, with the exception of The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and, you know, it was bad. It's a bad game based on a bad movie. Spider-Man games weren't the same as they were on the PS1 and PS2 era with the Sam Raimi games. But Spider-Man PS4 changed that and created a unique narrative and different spin on the character of Peter Parker and Spider-Man.
It's time to get up.
Not only is it motivational, but it makes Marvel Spider-Man more special than it already is. This is an awesome ad for one of the best games of the 8th generation. Like you. I love the Nintendo Switch. It's easily one of the most iconic consoles of the last decade. It has at least one entry of every Nintendo series, except these ones. The Switch was announced in late 2016 with a trailer showing whatever this console does and what it's all about. It's pretty simple and straightforward, but what I don't like about it is that every single Switch commercial is modeled after this one. They're exactly the same. Where's the creativity, Nintendo? It's an upgrade from the Wii U, but the fun is just gone. I'm baffled. But we still got one good Switch commercial. You know it, it's the Smash Ultimate ad. Ultimate was already a fantastic game, and this ad takes the mural that appeared in the character reveal trailers and brought it to life, and I thought it was so cool. The only complaint I and many people had was the lack of a background music. Sure, not every commercial needs a tune, but just imagine what song could be playing while all these characters took it out. And that's the origin of a 2018 meme, everybody. Many variants of this commercial with the background song infested YouTube. Simpler times. I miss Smash reveals and Smash Ultimate as a whole. This is a game that deserves its own retrospective. Someday. Generation 9, the console generation we're currently living in, at least from the moment I'm recording this. And man, what you need to know about the commercials from this generation is that they're lame and all the same. Sony has been hit or miss during this generation in terms of, well, everything. We'll talk about the argument of the lack of exclusives another time. The PS5's commercials have been fine, a little below average I'd say. We still got some cool ones, again, like those for Spider-Man Miles Morales and Spider-Man 2. These are seriously cool, but I hate to say it, they just don't hit the same as the first one. The Spider-Man 2 comes close to the first one, but I think Spider-Man 1 showed the story in a simpler yet impactful way. Now talking about the rest of the PS5's marketing. It's a step down from the PS4. We still get some creative ones, like 3 or 4 on a 5-year-old console. Outside of the Play Has No Limits ads, the PS5's marketing has been similar to Xbox's from last gen. Here's the console, here's the controller, $6.99. That's the sad reality, unfortunately. It's a product and the objective is selling it, I get that, but it doesn't hurt getting creative or wacky sometimes. Create something memorable, something that not only makes the people play your game, but it sticks with them. The Xbox Series X made a fantastic, and I dare say it, the best commercial of this generation. This is what I want. The initial ads for the Series X were amazing, and now, almost 5 years later, this thing doesn't have ads anymore. Heck, it's been years since I've seen an Xbox commercial on TV. It's almost as if the thing is already dead, but it's not. The Series X is still up and running and support is far from over, but Microsoft just doesn't care in promoting the console. Alright, sure. In the end of the day, they're just commercials. They make you buy the product and nothing else. But then, we reach the plague, the true end of video game commercials.
Not stop playing. I play it at work, I play it everywhere.
What's worse than uncreative ads that go straight to the point and hate fun? Bad ads. Ads that advertise a product that looks completely different from the commercial or outright doesn't exist. Mobile game ads are not a recent issue, but they just don't die off. Is there anything more to say that is yet to be said? Play Flying Gorilla. It's really cool and has the most accurate mobile game ad of all time. Now to answer the question nobody asked for. Are video game commercials becoming extinct? Hell no! They're becoming generic and uncreative, but they'll exist as long as video games exist. This was a long journey. We went through every video game generation and saw the evolution of commercials through each era. It was a wild ride, and I hope I don't have to do this again. Please Nintendo, make the Switch 2's commercial as boring as the Switch 1 so I don't have to talk about this again. And the Video Game Commercials Saga is officially over. This 3-year journey ends today, but a new journey begins. And for that I'm taking the TV off and all the commercials with it. Well, son of a bitch, you broke my leg!